What's going on, guys? MMuniz here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 common trading or investing mistakes that people make. Now, I've made all these mistakes myself, and sadly to say, more than once, some of them even more than twice. It's pretty surprising, but these are actually really common, and that's going to be the point of this video. I want to talk about these mistakes that I've made, and then hopefully you can learn from my mistakes, as I have, and then you're going to be a better investor moving forward. Now, in a lot of my videos, I like to do a quick TLDW, or too long didn't watch, just to give the real basic point of the video. And for this video, it's going to be buying, holding, dollar cost averaging with a long-term investment goal is always going to be your best approach. You don't need to be fancy. You don't need to be buying Tesla options or gambling on cryptos or day trading, watching charts. Even though those things can be fun, you don't need to do that. You're probably going to be more successful if you just average into diversified index funds or ETFs on a weekly or monthly basis. So now that I've said that, let's get right into the 5 mistakes that I've made, and probably a lot of people have. The first mistake is not having a plan. So whether you're the long-term investor 10, 20 years down the road and your plan is to stay in stocks or ETFs until then, or you're a short-term day trader trying to make 1 or 2% on each trade, you gotta have a plan and you gotta stick to it. You can't let the psychology aspect start to affect your decision making. What I mean by this, and the best way to approach this, is using limit orders if you're doing the shorter term stuff. So as an example, if you bought QQQ at $300 and you wanna sell it with a 1% gain, well, you can just set a limit order to sell automatically at $303. You don't need to be looking at the stock or watching or anything like that. And you don't need to be thinking about, oh, did I make the right decision? Should I change my mind? What should I do? Because a lot of times doing those things can lead to substantial losses and then revenge trading, and you just don't want to get into that. So use limit orders. If you don't know how to do those, I'm going to make a video on that in the future. But until then, if you want, just leave me a comment down below and I can try to explain it to you. Basically, as soon as QQQ hits that number of your limit order, it's automatically going to sell it. You're going to make your profits. The second mistake that a lot of people make, and I've made this mistake as well, is FOMO trading. So fear of missing out. Now, luckily, I can say that I never FOMO'd into any of the meme stocks or meme cryptos, Dogecoin, GameStop, AMC. I never did any of that. And if you guys did that and made money, that's awesome. But it just didn't fit into my goals at the time. However, I have traded options and made a profit of a few $100s or $500, maybe $1,000, and then all of a sudden the stock or ETF that I was using ends up decreasing, and then all of a sudden I realized if I had held on to it longer, I could have made another $500 or $1,000. And then I've bought back in again because I'm like, oh, well, I can get more profits. Well, then the stock reversed and I lose money. So at the end of the day, fear of missing out is never the approach you want to take. If you're going to be a long-term investor, stick to what I mentioned before, those diversified ETFs, or if you're going to invest in companies, make sure you're using fundamental analysis. You are familiar with what the company's doing, you believe in their goal, you believe in their management team, income statements, all that kind of stuff. You shouldn't just be buying into something because it's going to the moon, because more than likely when you buy in, it's going to dump, and then you're going to be left holding the bag and it's going to suck. Now, the third mistake, and this is kind of funny because I actually really like doing this, and it makes me sad that this actually doesn't really provide any benefit in the long term, and that is analyzing the news. So I'm someone that works from home. I'm constantly on my computer or in meetings or talking on the phone, and usually in the background I have the news going. I love to hear anything related to finance. So all the stuff with the FOMC meetings, the rate hikes, the inflation results, earnings. I'm super interested in all that. And a lot of times I'll try to make bets based off what happens or what I believe is going to happen. And at the end of the day, even if you think that something bad happened so the market should tank and all the stars align with what you thought was going to happen, that doesn't mean the market's going to do that. You never really know what's going to happen. So it's never guaranteed profits. A perfect example of this is I had, I think like 5 contracts or 7 contracts on Tesla to go down to, I believe, 675 back when the CPI was released last month. And expectations were 8.8%. They came in at 9.1%. And this was after hours. So, Tesla went from, I think, like 705 to 675 in aftermarket hours and pre-market hours. And obviously, you can't trade options during that time. But I was set to make a lot of money. The market opened up. I was up substantially. I was like, I'm gonna be rich. This is great. We're gonna be having steaks and champagne, me and my bros. But it did the opposite. As soon as market opened, Tesla skyrocketed. I ended up holding the bag. Now, mind you, I didn't lose that much money because I did have a stop loss set, but at the end of the day, I should have just sold in the profits. Nobody ever goes broke taking profits. Even if it's $1, it's better than nothing. So now on to mistake number 4. Once again, I would consider this more of a short-term investing strategy that's going to come across this. But at the end of the day, the mistake is averaging down or averaging up on a losing trade. So what this means is you continuously increase your position on a trade in hopes of covering the losses. So for instance, if you bought Dogecoin at 69 cents and the next day you wake up, it's 40 cents, you've lost a ton of money and you're like, oh, this is bad. I need to put more money in at 40 cents because it's going to come back. So you average down, you bring your cost basis down. You got a better cost basis, but then the next day you wake up, it's now 25 cents. You've lost even more. You're like, oh no, I need to put more in because I continue to lose. Well, most of the time companies don't go to zero. Who knows what's going to happen with crypto? But at the end of the day, you probably don't have enough money to continuously change your cost basis to make up missed losses. And all that's going to do is amplify your losses, and you're going to be out everything. So whether you're short in the market or going long, if you're trying to fix a losing trade, sometimes it's better to just get out of the trade because you might be forced to get out at a more substantial loss if you don't take the proper precautions at first. So when it comes to me, I haven't actually done this and lost, but there has been times when it's been really close. And not that I'm going to go bankrupt or anything, but I do have like one account that I trade with, and then I have an account that I hold long term, and I have my retirement account. So at the end of the day, it doesn't make that big of a deal for me, but for my trading accounts, there has been some times when I probably should have just canceled out the trade rather than trying to buy in more and get lucky per se. Now this kind of leads into the very last mistake, and for mistake number 5, it is being afraid to take a loss. So once again, if you have a plan and you plan on sticking to it, there's nothing wrong with taking a short-term loss and reassessing the situation. What you don't want to do is start losing and then hold on, lose more, hold on, and then be forced once you've lost 90% of your holdings and sell at that big of a loss, because then once you do that, you've lost everything. So ideally, in a perfect world, we're gonna buy low and sell high, and yeah, everyone's gonna make money and be rich, but it doesn't work like that. So sometimes if a company that you've invested in brings out bad earnings or announces bankruptcy or something, don't be afraid to take a loss, because you may save yourself from taking a larger loss. At the end of the day, everything's a gamble. So all in all, I've gone through the mistakes that I've made, and I like to think that I've learned from my mistakes. There have been some that I have not done again. And I kind of just wanted to make this video to let you know that if you're going through these things, you're probably not the only one. I've gone through it, and I'm definitely not the first and definitely not the last. So, the whole reason that I started this YouTube channel was to educate others, and on top of that, actually educate myself. So if you're still watching the video, leave me a comment down below with your thoughts. Have you made any mistakes? I want to know. Or are you a perfect investor? I wish I could say the same for me. I do my best to comment back to everyone that leaves me a comment. And if you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. We do weekly content on anything related to fitness or personal finance. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. Take care.